So I'm sitting here with Alan Rogers, a 23-year-old Renaissance employee veteran, and we're just kind of hanging out and talking about some of his experiences over the last 23 years. So Alan, 23 years, can you even remember back that far and what music or sitcom might have been going on then that you loved?
Yeah, so thank you for saying I was 20. I'm 23. But so it was
Because nobody's gonna buy that.
So it was 1996. So it was Friends.
Oh my God.
It was along that time there was like Britney Spears coming out.
Oh my
that
God,
kind of thing. Hit Me Baby One More Time was
did you guys
do
that game where which friend are you?
I don't remember that. I guess
you don't.
no.
In our crowd, we always did what friend are you? You're Monica.
It was a huge event, though. I remember that. So every week when that came on, I guess Ellen came out on TV, that type of thing. The Olympics were that year, I believe. Yeah.
I can remember your interview.
I can too.
I even remember what you had on.
I do too.
It seemed like you had this black jacket. You were all in black, and there was a zipper.
Oh, did I wear that?
A zipper jacket that went over your black
I may have done that,
polo shirt, and it had a ring on it.
I may have worn something like that. That sounds.
That's about right.
That sounds like that time frame.
I remember the fight. Coming out of Traditions.
Right.
With you, I think you were
the non-compete.
How old were you? 23, 24?
No, I was older than that. I was probably about 27.
Yeah, I think that was like within the first couple of years that I had kind of come to Renaissance myself, because originally I was just kind of a silent partner, and John from Traditions came over, and he knew Selma.
Right.
And then I stepped up and said something like, "You can't do that. Shame on you." And I had been an employment guy before, and with one little paragraph, "Good luck," and shame on you for trying to hold somebody for. And I think what were you making then? Nothing.
Nothing.
Next
is
to
what
nothing.
Was,
So it's like it felt like a joke. But anyway, we worked through that, and you started. Do you remember your first week with us?
The first week? I feel like I sort of do. It's been a long time. But, I can remember how different just the world was.
Yeah.
The way we did business was so different. We wrote on triplicate forms.
Right.
Faxed
everything.
And faxed everything. And we didn't have the luxury of our phones that we so easily can take pictures and just text to a client and say, this is what I'm talking about. It was the telephone game. It was like, well, it's bigger than a bread box and it's blue, but so I do remember like you and Randy got your house.
Oh, right.
Right along that time.
Yeah.
And
the Christmas parties.
Right.
Which we probably shouldn't talk about, right?
Right. Probably there were some
embarrassing things.
Great. There was a great Italian restaurant just up the hill, and like if we all worked super late, I can't remember the name of it, but we would just all go up there and have dinner.
Or inventory at the end of the year, and I remember always ending up over there just because we tried to. In those days, we'd close, right, for the week of Christmas, and we tried to do the inventory for that week, and it was always a big push.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I think when I think about you, I put you in that group of like Karen's, Drew's, yourself, and in those days, I think some of the ways that we onboarded people. I think the three of you were all so successful, and I wonder often if the reason you were so successful was the way that we onboarded you. Do you remember we put you at the warehouse for a week? We made you do samples for a week. So you really came to the table with them and just kind of dropped you in. Do you remember that, or is that
more than that? I remember sort of ghosting or assisting Selma and Randy, which was so valuable because what actually happened is, so if I was behind Selma every step of the way each day, working with her with clients. I was absorbing what was happening with the project, but then there were times when I 100% had to take over in her absence, and maybe just a short amount of time. Maybe she would just be at lunch, but it was a very valuable lesson to work in tandem that closely with such a veteran.
Right. And also I think the way that the company started was so advantageous. We started as a country floors rep, so we had everything that we needed pretty much in a little catalog. So quickly you could go through it. Today though, it's so overwhelming for a new employee because our strength in the marketplace is the depth of product.
True.
But it sure is our weakness too.
True. Yeah. True.
And that lead time it takes to get you up and running, it takes a lot longer. Now, I often wonder if it's because of the level of business or that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think often about that strength that we had with Country Floors because it was a very it was a fantastic relationship we had with them. Right. And
it was like being given the exclusive right to sell a Mercedes-Benz.
True.
Nobody else.
Yep.
Right.
And they were so, gosh, I can't remember the lady's name in New York. Yes, you could pick up the phone and she would help you like you wouldn't believe. Yep. And then the relationship we had with Pam and Frank, our reps, was amazing. And I'll never forget the times I had with the both of them. You guys sent me to New York for a week.
Oh God! Didn't you go with Drew?
No, thank God. I went to the Meredith collection with him. That's a different experience. But I went to New York, and you guys sort of gifted me this entire week. But I had to go to one meeting with Pam. But she, they were such. They were business partners, but they were such buddies, right? And so she and I had a fabulous dinner in New York one night that I'll never forget.
That's awesome.
And then when I went to LA, Frank.
Was that the first time? Was that the first time you were in New York?
Yes, it was.
As a young person,
absolutely. Unforgettable.
Like a young adult.
It should have been filmed.
Yeah.
It was a super fabulous
Did you feel a little bit like Mary Tyler Moore?
I felt exactly like Mary Tyler Moore. And it was before 9/11. The world was different. I took 5 suitcases. I took an entire suitcase of shoes.
Yeah.
You can't do that now.
Very different.
Then I went to LA and Frank, there were many people from other showrooms throughout the country there, but Frank sort of coddled me, and then after hours wanted to show me LA.
It's cool.
Yeah, very nice.
They were great.
Yeah.
And we were their number one dealer.
Yeah, and they treated us that way. Which is
today's. It feels like a different
world. They don't do it, man. That's the hardest thing.
Particularly when you're on the floor. And you're trying to sell the product.
It's the hardest thing about this job.
They don't seem to get it.
Yeah, they just don't seem to care. And I think often, and it's not often I think this, but I think when they're on the phone with me, they should really know that I mean business. I'm potentially, I've sold hundreds of thousands of dollars of their material in one project before.
The interesting thing is, we're their clients. And I know our model exists on the concept of delivering a service experience.
True.
And their model doesn't seem any way connected to that idea.
That's the difficult thing. And what sets us apart is the service we provide, right? And so that's how I sell myself to my clients, but I'm not getting that support. So that does make that difficult.
It's a struggle.
But so I try to educate myself as deeply with, product as I can. And I try to provide, this fast service to my clients, but it is difficult because the vendors just don't support that.
How many years have you won the #1 salesperson?
I don't know, but if I was forced to say, I'd say 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if you've ever thought or given thought to what has made you so successful on the sales floor. And we've seen people come and go. We've seen a whole litany of people with strengths and weaknesses. Why do you think you have that certain X factor that
Well, I think that I love the product, and so I think I have a thirst to dig for education on the product, right? So, like for instance, right now we've got a beautiful new Ravenna catalog,
Right.
and I want to take that thing home this weekend and just kind of go through and find the most beautiful things and remember them, and then so when the opportunity presents itself, what is it?
But you're kind of like a docent of the product, where you're kind of going through this huge array of stuff, and saying,
and
okay,
curating it for the client.
Right. That I built this database.
So I believe that they trust me because I think they're like, oh, I need to go to Alan because he's gonna have what I need for this. I think they trust me with that.
What percentage today of your clients allow you to move in that direction? Because probably some of the more pretty things are a little more pricey versus the ones that come in and say, I need to do the secondary bathroom. Do you get enough of that group, and how have you been able to maintain that group?
So I guess the clients that are really, you have a handful of clients that are really going to be purchasing that material. It's not every day that they do, but even if you're not always selling it, you can enamor someone with it, right? And so when they do have that client, they'll know to come back. But in the meantime, we can do beautiful bathrooms with our stock, and they'll still be thinking of that glamorous thing.
And the stock program is such a powerful thing.
It's the best thing that we have going.
It's a I talk about it almost as a revolution. After 2008, when we kind of that went away, and then trying to get back to where we are today, there was oftentimes I would say, it's not working. Right. The original model doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
But I had forgotten what the original model was.
The model, right?
Yeah. That it allowed us to be competitive.
Right.
It allowed us to drive margin.
Yeah.
It allowed us a visual look that was unique to us.
It makes our clients comfortable too. Reyes has done such a beautiful job with the brochures that we have. And one of my best clients was in yesterday, and she was just doing secondary bathrooms basically, right? And so I always start with the stock, right? And I build on that, and it's great too because you sort of can't shop it,
Right.
But she was so excited about how perfectly informational each brochure was, and it just made her understand, what was going on in each collection, and we were able to pull everything together quickly, because so much of what we do takes so much time. So that's sort of a great shortcut that we have.
And now I think it's even more exciting as we drill this down through the web, allowing a client of yours to sit in their office and call you and say, pull up Shoal. This will go with Nest. And we'll use Hudson on the floor.
It works. And when you have that educated client, they can understand things on our website that are there. So even the high-end product, they've begun referencing.
From the web.
Yeah, so like a new Ravenna water jet, they'll pull up and reference on.
I had recently there was an interview that went on from a waterworks employee here in the Atlanta market, and she tells a story of Barbara coming into the thing and opening up her computer, pulling up our website, and she said, "Here it is. Here's your competition." So they're becoming aware of us.
Well, we have gone from a mom and pop store to,
Well, I think some of our success has always been this, Alan. We've always acted
bigger than we are. Right.
Right.
Fake it till you make it.
Right.
But
we're always a little engine, right?
Right. But now we are, like, people know who we are.
Yeah, moving.
Internationally.
If you tell me, do you have a day that really stands out, like as your best day ever?
Well, it was
from the sales
from
working here.
Just in general. Well, it was probably when you guys. I don't remember what it was before, but we gathered in the kitchen, and it was sort of a surprise when you guys told me you were going to send me to New York. And you gifted me spending money.
Oh, yeah.
I stayed in a fabulous hotel in Times Square. I had tickets to Rent, which was the number one show.
Right.
Then I was like on literally the third row.
Right.
And so that was an exciting day.
Yeah. That was absolutely that.
Yeah.
And you know the funny thing is, as time has gone on, I think when you're small, you have that intimacy,
right?
That you know, it's a challenge to try to maintain,
right,
over, you know,
True.
6 showrooms. And,
sure.
And you know, it's also one of the strengths, I think, even today, is having Randy back in the showroom. Is that owner involvement right there?
It's very nice to have him there.
Yeah.
And people, it does bring back that sort of mom and pop feeling, because we do have those old clients that are still tried and true, and they love seeing him in the showroom.
Yeah. How about your worst day?
Probably
yesterday.
Every day. No. The downturn of the economy was extremely
on all of us.
It was so hard, and it was just so sad. You know, literally in every way. You could just look out the window and see showrooms closing.
Oh my God.
It just breaks my heart.
Yeah, it was very sad.
Yeah.
And it was tough. It was a tough.
It was,
for 36 months of like not being sure every day what was going to happen. Yeah.
So do
but
anything, but don't take my money away.
But you know what? And looking back on that experience, and of course I wouldn't want it again. But here's the thing that's amazing. I remember in those 3 years of the downturn, having a job going on in Nashville, and it was at $250,000 when we pulled.
I remember
when people couldn't eat or pay mortgages.
What's the truth is, none of my friends were affected. I was, though. I was eating cigarette butts for dinner.
You know, the funny thing is that we exist. I mean, I think one of the reasons, though, I think we made it through it is because we exist right at the top of the food chain. And that group shrunk, but there were still people out there buying millions of dollars of tile and stone in a world where they didn't need it. You know, it wasn't like they had to buy milk or bread. So, I mean, we very much are a luxury brand, and I think we have to kind of accept that and lean into it. Do you think when you get that kind of client, that makes them more difficult to work with?
Well, just in general, they're all demanding, but I don't know that the wealthiest ones are more difficult. I wouldn't say that.
How do you think you manage the volume of business that you have? Well, I mean, I'm always hugely impressed by that single thing.
Well, it takes a lot of time, right? But I think that you have to sort of you sort of have to think ahead, right? And so when you're working on a project, you really have to sort of think of all the players and try to connect all of the dots. So that you can get your arms around each project and just make it
have you seen
work
that change
smoothly
from when you first entered the showroom in terms of how you have to control that? Or do you think that's very similar?
I think it's probably similar. I think that I've matured, and now I'm not as timid about reaching out to the builder.
Right.
Or,
but don't you think that in the beginning, I mean, it might, from what I recall, there was so much business coming in the door that you could go out and do a quote and then wait for it to come back in. And there would be literally people that would physically say, "Take my check, please."
Right.
Today, every detail has to be followed through. Every sales process has to be followed through. When the competition is much more intense. I mean, think about it. We were one of the...
Well, we were the only game in town.
Right. 2, vendors have broken exclusivity. That has definitely disrupted the way that we do business. And requires you to be in a dogfight every day. Because somebody else has something
Right.
similar. Where when we first started, that didn't exist. How do you, or how much of your time is spent on the concept of pipeline?
I like to sit down probably every 2 weeks, like on the weekend, and study that.
Do you?
I do. It's and it takes a bit of concentration, so it's something that I'll do like on a weekend.
Is that something that always you believed in, or is it something that you've kind of grown to rely on?
It's not something that I've always believed in, but it helps me keep it organized.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
And if I can
build a strategy.
Yeah, and build a strategy. So if I get it down on paper, I really do it for myself more so than
in what way? In way of organization, how much money you're gonna make?
All of the above.
Okay.
So if I can get it just down on paper, I can easily sort of decide what's going to close sooner than later.
Yeah.
And then I can just see what I need to work harder on.
Right.
And then it's exciting sort of to get a number there to work toward. Almost like a vision board.
Yeah, sure. If you had to give me a number of or a percentage of accuracy regarding projections, when you give your projections, do you feel like you're 80%, 90% to that?
I feel like it's
every month?
really. I feel like just in general it's really good, but from month to month it's very difficult.
Is it?
Because they tell you information that's not correct, right? So I have 2 really large jobs that I've been told, that I've kept up with. I've been told for the last 3 months, we're closing that. So even as current as yesterday, so one of them, really nice job, they said, well, we're probably going to close it on Tuesday. But I've been hearing this for 3 months.
Next week.
So Tuesday, so I've told Greg, count on it, they're saying Tuesday, but for the last 3 months it hasn't been there.
Now, I think some of the things that we've learned in this process is about cash. The change between what happens between somebody saying it's going to happen and then the builder chasing the money can sometimes take 30 days, I think.
Right, sure.
Right?
Oh,
they think they're closing, they have to get the draw.
Or they have to sell some stock.
Or something has to happen where the cash, you get the word that it's closing.
But I think the accuracy is pretty good. I mean.
Well, as a company, I feel like we are usually like 98 percentile. So I think I don't know that everybody always believes in the level of accuracy, but I mean there are some that can, showrooms that get it down to the dollar almost.
Wow. And
both on close and invoice.
Oh, that's really difficult right there.
Because they're so, particularly showroom managers, they're so worried about making their number. They're building their number for the next 3 months. So they're able to look at what's in the open, push those things along, whatever,
it's
well
an
as
extremely painful process.
Oh my God! Tell us.
Right.
Right. And for us, it's a big deal because we do cash projections on it.
Sure.
I don't know that everybody always connects that. Am I going to make payroll? Am I going to make payables? All those. I just bought millions of dollars of inventory.
Right.
Are we going to have money to pay for it? So it's a part of the process.
Right.
And it's an attempt. It's back to what you were saying about being mom and pop. It's an attempt to drive us from being mom and pop to with 6 showrooms with payroll that gets big and all those things. You have this good sized job going on, and so you get the opportunity to work with some product at a higher level throughout the entire house.
Right.
Cool. And so one of your favorite vendors is Mosaics or Boss.
Well, I think their product it's beautiful and it's so different.
Right.
In a way that the competitors.
Sure.
Aren't.
What is your favorite vendor because you feel like it supports you the best?
That's a rough one. So some of the bigger vendors are easier to work with. Yeah, so Pratt and Larson on tile would be
one of
real
the standout, right?
Yeah, of course. Some of the big, not really as exciting lines that are just so easy to work with, are like California Faucets or.
Yeah. And they really seem to have it nailed down.
Well, their customer service is just they can tell you something quickly, and you know.
Right. What about on the tile line side?
Well, Pratt. Is that go to?
And
because
what about Mosaic Faucets? Do you find them?
They're good. You know, I want to be able to provide my answers to my client as fast as I can, and I can't do that when I'm not getting the answers, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing.
And you're sandwiched off.
Yeah. So so those are factories that I can expect to get what I need from them.
Do you have a funniest client story?
Well, I do. Well, you know, I have funny clients over the years that have really turned out to be friends.
Sure.
And like Carter Hip is one of my favorites. Okay. You know, she's just a buddy and you know, she's really retired now and she stops by from time to time. But there were times when we would work together in the showroom.
Do you remember?
Yeah. She was really a character.
What was her name?
Jane.
It is crazy. You used to call her.
Did I call her Crazy Jane?
Wasn't that what she called herself?
Probably.
On her card?
Well, I can't remember that. Because, you know, she was Charlene's client, but she just really loved young gay boys.
Yeah.
You know, and
she
so
was hilarious.
she collected them.
It sounded like she was smoking for all of her life and drinking whiskey.
And she was such a character, and, you know, I met her daughter once, and her daughter was extremely buttoned up, so it was funny to see that, you know, that big personality didn't translate to her.
I remember you when before Susan Kassler was Susan Kassler,
right?
That you.
I did work with her, like I believe when she was first coming to Atlanta.
It seems like I even remember her calling you out at an event that we went to.
I don't
where she
remember,
was being recognized.
But I worked with her early on.
So you've worked with some of the better ones.
Yeah, I have big ones.
So pipeline helps you stay organized. Is there so if you were to give me advice through the interviewing process,
right?
Look for this, David. This is what I feel like. If you get this strength in somebody, it will make them successful on the floor. What would you want me to be looking for?
I wonder if there's a way you can gauge tenacity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like if they've been at something, I don't know.
Yeah,
like were they in college a long time? Like was there something that they did for a long time and saw through?
Yeah, because I think you often have said this, or I kind of hold this quote. You have to have the work ethic of steel to work for us.
You do. I mean, you've got to be willing to put in the long hours and do your homework.
Yeah.
Because it takes both of those.
Yeah. Something that I've learned, and I wish I had figured this out sooner. There's so much work to be done here that if we introduce a new person to the equation, everybody, is another person. But the way that you guys react to them in 30 days tells me really who they are. Because if you're a worker, come on, get on and we'll help you. We'll do whatever.
They show their colors very early,
or they want to be hand fed. They're whining about what they're doing.
Well, they immediately start making remarks like, isn't there someone that should be doing this? Yeah. It's like, no, darling, you need to roll up those sleeves.
And that's always been such an interesting conversation, too. It's like, at one point in history, we had like 3 people back here just to do, and they weren't being used because a better salesperson wants to watch that more closely. Now, that doesn't mean we shouldn't have somebody that's doing really minimum, like ordering me a sample, but even ordering a sample, like and this goes back a long time, right? Yeah. If I were to have ordered a sample, the time that it would have taken me to say, okay, go order a new Ravenna sample.
Not worth it. Yeah. You
might
could
as
have
because it's all up here, right?
Yeah, you can.
By
do
the
that
time I
quickly.
write it on a piece of paper,
Yeah.
I could have just, and the systems now are stronger that allow you to, what would have taken 30 minutes
Absolutely.
only takes 1 minute.
Yeah.
Like you just would have,
Absolutely.
And do you feel like systems have, like, we're not, we'll never be exactly where, but you certainly have watched systems get better and better.
Oh, absolutely.
Better and better.
For sure.
Always moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
In closing,
Mm-hmm.
what advice would you give to a first year, third year, fifth year salesperson on the floor?
I think like just knowing your product is probably the biggest thing. You just have to. That's what we're experts in. That's what people come to me for. And so I just feel like you have to understand it technically, so that you can educate your client on the product. But you've got to have all the pretty things in your back pocket.
Well, but see, I think it's interesting you say that, because as I'm sitting here, I think I would say something a little twist on that is what I think the passion for the product drives everything.
Yes.
Because you love the product,
right?
You're constantly data banking it,
true.
And because you love the product, then you're excited to tell the product, and with that you put you're able to build a sale.
True.
And it all kind of happens organically. But I have watched people that are what you're saying, have that passion, but I've also watched people who don't have the administrative skills and they collapse on themselves, and you've seen that happen over the years.
True.
Where you really love the product, client really like you have a great personality for the floor, but you can't retain any information.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some of the best salespeople are ones that can retain. Like, do you remember the job with Susie Smith? And you can quickly go, yeah, that was pink tile. We did it on the bathroom on the diagonal, and da 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 da.
And that just has to be there.
It just has to be there, because otherwise you're running around all the time. So it's ability to kind of be organized in thought. So, in terms of one of the challenges we talk about through the interview, and these days, what I will really say, do you have the stamina? If you talk to Joe, sometimes she'll say, okay, enough of the negative selling.
Right, yeah.
But, I say you have to have stamina, and it's 2 years now. We used to think it was 1 year.
Yeah.
Now, I think because of the way the business is, it's harder. You have to be more of a hunter than a gatherer.
The sales cycle is very long, what is a big unspoken thing. These projects take 2 years to close often.
Yeah, sure. But so a new salesperson is, that first 6 months to 10 months is learning product and building quotes.
Absolutely.
They're not yet so the really good salespeople are able to build a pipeline and manage a project manager. You've got 2 things going on. So what happens to a new salesperson, I think, from 0 to 10 months, they're learning the product, building pipeline, but they're closing small jobs.
The meat's not there yet.
And so all of a sudden you have to keep your pipeline full and deal with, the project management stuff, almost where you have to sell it again.
Yep.
Often you have to sell it again when it comes in.
Oh yeah.
Where, did it meet the expectation? Where is it? When did it get there? All those things.
Closing the sale is just the beginning.
I totally agree with you. There's a lot of work
after
that happens.
For sure.
I mean, and some of that conversation, I've even had with salespeople exiting. I want my commission. Well, who's going to do? You're leaving, and often that is a tailspin for everybody, because now I've got to pick it up, figure it out. If you've made a mistake,
once it gets to the job site, it's a whole new. But did I order? Is my tub supposed to have jets? Yes,
Yeah.
You ordered it with jets.
what grout
you know,
color? How do I
so-
seal it? It looks like something different than.
So yeah, then you begin to sell things to the builder, because then the builder starts bad mouthing all this stuff to the designer and the homeowner.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot on that back end
Yeah.
that you're doing.
You know, it's funny because I've often compared it to like kind of giving birth.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's painful, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when it's all done, you have this beautiful child, and you kind of forget about the pain.
Yeah.
And for most clients, don't you find that?
I
to
think
be
at
true?
the end, gosh, they're so miserable when you're going through the sales process.
Right. It's
But
stressful.
then some of them can be so ugly.
Yeah.
But then they're back the next time. They're like, "Oh, I love everything,"
Right.
and
They
I
forget
think
all, like they just.
that's amazing that
choose
you
or-
love it, because you were real
yeah.
real
Difficult.
nasty about
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
But
yeah.
they do.
Okay. Any closing thoughts for us?
Gosh, I'd sell some tile.